Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 235, recorded on Friday, January 27th, 2023. We have more WordPressing issues to discuss. From Zenatta Consulting, I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
Yes, we shall, Tyler. I hope you've had a good week.
Absolutely. Snow's starting to melt, so maybe be able to get outside a little bit this weekend here. So hoping for the
Man,
best.
we are dallying with we're in the high 60s. We're dallying with hitting 70 here in Southern California. So our long winter of discontent is coming to an end. Anyway, let's jump right on in and let's start with some announcements and events. See what we got. All righty, not much has changed since last week. Coming up here at the end of the month, actually running all through January through mid-March, or February and mid-March, the Zoho User Group USA in-person meetups are going. So you basically can go ahead and check that out. If you go to our website, zenatta.com/events, we've got the links to register for all of these things. Zoho People is doing a What's New in Zoho People January 2023 webinar. Enhancements to search settings and general setup. There's a whole bunch of things going on there. Really want to take a look at that. We've talked about it before. That whole back setup and settings, if they just allow you to turn off some stuff on the back end, that would be kind of cool. So take a look at that. Digital certificate-based signatures in Zoho Sign. A whole bunch going on there. Matter of fact, we're going to talk about this. This is a new announcement they've got, but they've got some cool stuff going on. And after you see what we talked about in the news today, you may want to check that out. That's coming out next Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. And then they've got a whole bunch of customer experience workshops coming out, BI trends, all kinds of stuff. And what are we doing this month, Tyler? Where's our webinar? What are we doing?
Looks like we need to add them in there. I think next one's going to be CRM. Should be end of February. I think the 20th, 21st, something like that.
End of February. Is it here somewhere and I'm just missing it?
No,
there it is. On February 21st, we're going to be doing the Zoho CRM 2023 full product tutorial. Is this going to be our fourth one or is our third one?
So.
We did a 20. Yeah. So
2020, 21, 22, and now 23. This will be number 4.
23. A lot of interesting changes this year, so it'll be fun to go over that and talk about what is going on there as well. So as we've said, and then by the way, Zoholics is running. So Indonesia's got it coming up, Vietnam's got it coming up, and then the US is finally getting kind of a stripped down Zoholics this year. They're going to do 3 of them in Pleasanton, New Jersey, and Jersey City, and in Austin, Texas. And basically they're little 300-400 person events. So rather than the big 4,000 or 5,000 person event, all in Austin, spread out over a week, these are going to be little 2-day events that are running in 3 little cities. But it's good to see Zoholics coming back. So you can, again, head over to zenatta.com/events and check up on all the latest events going on in the world of Zoho. And with that, let's dive right on into the news. So kind of a small little change here. This just dropped right after our show last week. But if you're a WordPress user and you're using SalesIQ, they have made some changes to the plugin. So this is only for people who have SalesIQ integrated with their WordPress sites. They've updated the method to connect SalesIQ account to your WordPress site using the plugin. And they now have a dedicated link exclusively for WordPress instead of copying the code. So in the past, you'd install this widget, and in that widget, it would open up and it would say, paste your code here. You would paste this little bit of code that they gave you and you would save it. And then all that really did was it placed a footer on all of your pages that had that code in it so that they could go ahead and track all of the activity going on your website. And they've changed that now. So it looks like it's a little more integrated. It's just making a direct call to the back end. So if you have that, you want to change it. Now, if you've already got SalesIQ set up, you're using the old plugin, the old widget, you're fine. Don't worry about it. But if you're brand new, if you're brand new, you're going to need to make that change. So a small thing really doesn't affect anybody because going forward, you'll be doing that. I'm curious though, Tyler, I wonder if this new methodology is any better. And even if you have a WordPress site, you might want to switch over to it.
Seems like it's more of a compliance thing. If we scroll down, looks like they kind of did their little call out bubble there that, it's mostly a change on what the WordPress side is allowing, right? So they're not going to allow JavaScript APIs. So they basically had to play nice with WordPress and update it here. But again, the big takeaway is if you've already got this on your site, don't worry about it. This is just going to look and feel a little different if you were to set up like a new brand on a new website.
Yeah. Perfect. And moving on with the news. So Biggin now has connected pipelines. This is pretty cool. I was
I
kind of, if
love
you
this.
kind of scroll, if you're watching, yeah, if you're watching it on YouTube, do we have this in regular CRM?
No, not natively. You can make the CRM do this, but essentially what they're doing here with the connected pipelines, and this is building on the team pipelines functionality that they've rolled out. Essentially, imagine if you had sales as a pipeline, production as a pipeline, and installation as a pipeline. You could pretty reasonably see that once you're done in sales, you should start on production. Once you're done in production, you should start on installation. So this is basically a way to have multiple pipelines that are daisy chained together and where things kind of naturally just move from one pipeline to the next. Really, really nice. This is something that I'd love to have in CRM. We have a lot of CRM flows around kind of like getting the first sale, and maybe then that could pass into getting the second, right? With like an abbreviated pipeline and so on there. So really, really cool. Hopefully they're thinking about copying this over to the kind of full on CRM as well. But really nice to have in Bigin.
So if I'm in a deal and I have like a 6-stage sales pipeline, if am I reading this correct, as soon as it goes to deal closed, it's going to be the same deal, but it's just going to put a whole new
Move.
pipe. It's going to overlay. The old pipeline's gone,
Yep.
and the new pipeline is going to replace it. That's kind of
Essentially, yeah.
cool. I wonder if you think that's what it's going to be.
It
I
should just
mean,
be one record carrying through each of those, which is nice because now you keep email history, you keep timeline, you keep notes, right? All these things that are kind of either tricky or not possible to brute force when you're kind of copying it to a new record. So yeah, really, really nice to see it.
right. Because the way we do it right now is once the deal's closed, that we create a whole new deal with a whole new
Yep.
pipeline,
For some
right?
clients, we'll create a new deal. For others, you can like change the pipeline, right? If pipeline
Right.
is initial and stage is closed one, then update pipeline and do new stage. But again,
Right.
that's like from the bias of we're just super comfortable doing that in Deluge. But for a lot of users that aren't going to want to like monkey through that, but now you can have that same flow here.
Yeah. Very, very slick. Very, very slick. Anyway, good job, Biggin team. Biggin keeps rolling along. And kind of like I was talking about here a little bit on this next news story, there's a Zoho Sign webinar coming up. One of the big things we're going to talk about is something that was just released a few days ago, which is USB token and PFX file-based document signing in Zoho Sign. So these are different ways of authentication. These are, of course, much better versions of authentication because you're really just trusting on a Zoho sign document that the person that's clicking that they signed it is in fact the person. They're
Yep.
certifying that they're the person that's signing it. But this is actually kind of nailing it down a little bit and more or less verifying that the person is who they say they are. Now, I'm not familiar with PFX files, Tyler. Are you?
No, I'm not familiar either. It's got to be some kind of standardized file from like a, way to generate a digital signature that's unique to you. I would assume USB tokens are becoming more and more popular for kind of like identity verification. So I've seen those pop up
Absolutely.
more and more over time. So really
Yeah.
nice to have within the whole sign.
What was once old is now new again.
Yeah.
The whole USB token. But yeah, that's very kind of cool. So nice, good on Zoho. The one thing I'd love to see that I've seen a few times and a few clients have asked for is the identity verification through questions, where it's like, "Did you grow up on this street?" You've seen
Oh,
that
kind of like
sometimes.
the background check stuff. Yeah, that would
Yeah,
be really
right. And
nice.
those things always freak me out too. The data that lives in the cloud on you as an individual is amazing. It's like, so did you grow up on which of these streets did you grow up on? You're like, how do you know that? Right. The very first car you registered was a what, or you used to own, which one of these cars have you owned in the past? You're like, wow, crazy. Anyway, cool stuff. And kudos to the Zoho Sign team. And I think you're pretty excited about this next story. In Zoho CRM, reports can now be filtered using dynamic criteria values.
Yeah, this is really nice. So essentially what this is in the CRM reports, you can now set up filters that reference more than one field. So like an example here is, let's say that a client came in and they said that their budget is $30,000. So you type that into a field on the deal, and then maybe you end up closing that deal with an amount of $50,000. So now, 6 months later, you want to pull a report and say, show me all the deals that we've won where we were able to sell more than their initial budget told us they were willing to sell, right? It might be for a commission, a bonus, right? Who's been able to really scale things. The nice thing this allows you to do is now you can set up a filter that says, show me deals where amount is greater than budget. So you're not having to type in the budget. You're actually live referencing it on a record by record level. And then, of course, you could stack it with other filters like stage is closed won. Um,
Right.
Really nice to have. I mean, just the there's something that I don't know. You can even do this within Zoho Analytics, so maybe that team take a note. This would be great to have there as well. But yeah, really really cool. Highly recommend checking this out if you're in the CRM, because looking at another one you've got here on the screen if you're watching us on YouTube, show me tasks where completion date is after due date, right, or closing date is
Right.
after due date. So you're able to make things referential, and it's really really nice to see.
Very, very cool. Very cool. I mean, one of the things in, just the general reporting in Zoho sometimes is just lacking, and you got to pull it over to analytics to kind of get the data you want. So this is another uh, extremely nice feature. So right now it's currently limited to date and time, checks box, number, decimal percentage, long integer, and currency. Those are the things you can do these filters on. So very cool. Nice enhancement to Zoho reports inside the CRM. And kind of a small little story here, but tags are now supported in the latest version of Zoho Projects for iOS mobile app. We see this a lot. I want to say this was probably 2, 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. This tags rolled out in projects. It seems longer than that, maybe a couple months ago. They rolled out on the
Something like that.
desktop version of projects.
Yeah.
Anyway, you'll see stuff come to the desktop, and then it takes a little while to make its way over to the mobile application. And it has done that. So you can now see the tags that you have on your desktop. They will be showing up, and you can actually add them on the mobile version, at least for iOS. I don't know if this has come over to Android yet. Sometimes these are dual releases, sometimes not, but it appears at least they're over on iOS and Zoho projects.
Very nice.
All right. Yeah. And with that, Tyler, let's get on into the implementation of the week.
Alrighty, so this is an implementation here built by Hunter on our development team, working with Jordan, kind of the primary consultant for this client. And this is essentially a way to do some brand coloring natively via Zoho Creator in a client portal. So we've been finding more and more use cases over time where we're helping our clients build portals to interact with their client base via Zoho Creator. So maybe you are someone who sells through distributors, and you want your distributors to have a login to submit orders or submit cases or issues, all those different various things that you're looking to get out of an email inbox. But a request that we got on this project in particular is it possible to dynamically kind of color code and brand the portal based on the person that's logged in? And what Jordan and Hunter are able to do is basically answer yes to that question. And so we basically added a place within the application to track the hex codes of primary, secondary, and font colors for their particular clients. That data does need to be entered, right? It's not something you can kind of magically pull from their website or anything. So if this is important, it just needs to be part of like your client or vendor onboarding process, essentially grabbing these values. And then within Creator, a lot of what we're doing when we're kind of creating the UI is building custom pages for people to look at that contain reports, forms, buttons, all different types of things. And one of the cool things about custom pages is that you can format them using HTML and CSS. So you can get them to look really custom based on what you need. And so what the team essentially did is that, when a user logs in, so let's say Tyler at Zenatta logs into the portal, they're actually querying against the Zenatta account immediately when I load the page, bringing back those hex codes, and then applying them to color code different elements of formatting on the page based on whoever is logged in and viewing it. So really, really slick. I mean, obviously, this isn't something that really defines functionality. It's not one of those implementations where we're doing crazy math or we're calculating commissions or sending documents, but it's one of those little kind of personalization touches that the client really loves to have and present to their clients via the portal.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice little user experience kind of thing, right? Just
Yeah,
make it
exactly.
pretty, make them know you. Yeah, fantastic. Nice job, Hunter and Jordan. All right, and with that, let's head over to Club Zenatta and talk about our code share of the week. So this first one here from Greg is got to be a pretty specific use case. It looks like you're just actually enabling attachments and emails and portal in inventory, and this works with estimates, invoices, and sales orders. So by dropping this code, you're turning on the ability to add attachments. Is that what this is doing?
Yeah, in essence, you might bake this into your code just to be safe and essentially ensure that the module is set up to allow attachments. This also gets into, we kind of have a previous implementation a little while back where Greg highlighted how to add an attachment where it's set up to send along with an estimate or a sales order. This looks like it's actually hitting the settings itself just to make sure that that is turned on. Otherwise, that other function isn't going to work because it's going to get blocked by like the organization level setting.
Nice. So the code is there for those of you that need it. But that's not all. This week we have a bonus code share over at Club Z, and this comes from none other than Elizabeth Clark. Elizabeth, you've done some great stuff sending this over. Tyler and I, tongue in cheek, said this before, but you can work remotely, great quality of life. We've got full benefits, 401k. Give us a call. We think there's a home for you over here at
Yeah,
Zenatta.
and
But
that's one of those kidding. That's one of those kidding, not kidding things. So shoot us a ping.
that's exactly right. Exactly right. So anyway, Elizabeth has done close CRM deal if all books sales orders are closed. So what has Elizabeth got going on here?
Yeah. So essentially, in the connection between books and CRM, right? You can kind of create, sales orders from your deal. And for some clients, it's really simple. You'll kind of have like one estimate, one sales order, one invoice per deal. But that's not always the case, right? People that are in construction, people that are in software implementation, people that are doing on site managed services, oftentimes you might have multiple different sales orders, right? Like this is the stuff we're going to use for phase one. It's going to go out first. You're going to get invoiced on that first. Then we're going to do this phase two. You're going to get a second invoice, right? And so on. And so essentially what this function is doing is each time that a sales order is basically marked as closed and completed, Elizabeth's code is going to look for other sales orders that are connected to that same deal. And if all of the other sales orders connected to that deal are also closed, she's essentially writing an update over to the deal to update its stage and let the CRM know that all of those have been
It's
closed out.
closed.
So really nice. Like we've done like simple version of this is like invoice paid, go update to deal. But again, that's under the assumption that you've only got one. And there's plenty of scenarios
Right.
that you have more than one sales order, more than one invoice. And so really the cool thing that you can take from this for the other people that, might use this later is she's using that reference, that CRM potential ID to kind of search and identify records and books. And so even if you don't need this, take a look at the code just to kind of pull that piece out because that's really useful for a lot of different automations.
And if you don't know, Club Zenatta is our online community. You can go to club.zenatta.com. We have a general discussion group. You can ask questions for the CRM Zen Show, which we answer at the end of this show. We've got our code share, video tutorial requests, just general discussion. And that is where you got a question, you can go ahead and ask it here and just kind of participate and help each other out. So head over, and all we ask for is your email. So just it's free to use, free to play. So anyway, head over to club.zenatta.com. And with that, Tyler, let's head over to zenatta.com and see what we got new going on over there. Actually, let's not. Let's go to our read of the week.
We were just
Got things
joking
out
about
of
this
order.
before the show. You would think that Brett and I, after doing 250 something episodes, that we would know the order of the show like the back of our hand.
Ah,
But somehow we still
yes.
don't. So
Occasionally No, and I actually have a little virtual sticky note with the order of the show, and I still messed it up. But anyway, also I want to do again. Thanks, Elizabeth, for participating in CRM Zen. So, our read of the week comes from CRM Buyer, and this is 3 personalization trends that will change e-commerce in 2023. And artificial intelligence taking center stage. Boy, it seems like artificial intelligence is progressing at a rate. I think that ChatGPT has just really jarred everybody into saying, "Wow, this artificial intelligence stuff, there
Like,
might be
this can
something
actually
there." I
do
understand it
something
just,
tiny, you know? Yeah.
I don't know what I was reading, but I think it was, it passed a Harvard exam or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think it
ChatGPT was
passed a
able to,
law exam and an MBA
the law.
exam already. It's gonna put us out of business.
It's fantastic. I don't know about having it totally write different things, but it it definitely speeds research up about
Tremendously.
100 times faster than Google.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm doing research on Google, it is slow, it is laborious. You're clicking on links that you think might have something, or value, and it's just garbage, and you've got to wade through 50 things to get to what you want. Anyway,
Mhm.
it's very, very, very cool. So they're basically saying that, in as it relates to e-commerce anyway, that if you think about what Amazon, eBay, Alibaba, and those guys do with their API, where they're constantly pushing you things, it's really going to be available to more and more people as you go through, and AI is going to have a significant change on that. First party data is going to become the norm. I think it already
Mhm.
is the norm,
I'm
but
hoping that that'll be something that will
that
kinda
that's
level
fine.
level the
And then
level
brand
the playing
loyalty.
field.
It'd be interesting. Well, you think this will like hurt Amazon at the end of the day, right? I mean, this could
Yeah,
hurt
because
some of the
essentially
big
what
boys if you
that's
have
getting
that
into
ability.
is it's getting into saying that you're not gonna be able to rely on data that you're gathering outside of your own platform as much, right? Apple's cracking down on what it's gonna send Amazon, what it's gonna send. Obviously, the big context of this is always around digital marketing, right? And, like, Apple turning it off costed Facebook what? It was like 3-4 billion a year in advertising revenues based on some of these last changes.
Right.
But as that stuff tightens up, it might give some of the smaller e-commerce players a bit of more of a fair playing field because they're not able to access that third-party data the same way that Amazon is. Obviously, there's still going to be the elephant in the room, but hopefully, give people more of a fighting chance.
Yeah, pretty cool. I agree. And then beyond brand loyalty going beyond borders, I think we're starting to see this anyway. They'll choose a retailer they hold premium loyalty memberships to over a retailer offering lower prices. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I see that a lot. We talk about Amazon, especially in the e-commerce world. I think just it's so easy, right? It's just
Hmm.
so darn easy. Your shipping's free, credit cards are on file, everything's there. They know everything about you. But
Any problem, you're
um,
going to get a refund. That's some of that stuff that I
yeah,
think is an edge.
becomes hard to compete with there. But anyway, nice little read over at CRM Buyer. That's the guys who put together CRM Magazine, I think, if I'm correct, isn't it? Or is
I
that
think so.
Destination CRM does that? No,
Nope,
Destination
just me.
CRM does that. CRM Buyer is its own individual separate thing there. So anyway, that's our read of the week, and thank you for that. And now let's head over to Zenatta and see what's happening over there. All right, so we have 5 overlooked Zoho applications, and we did this because when we did our third annual Zenmies, and we rounded them out, there were, we talked about the top 5 we gave Zenmies to, but then these were the ones that were kind of the runners up in that category, and we don't necessarily talk about them a lot. Not a lot happens with them, but these are the 5. Zoho Flow, if you know Zapier, Zoho Flow, except it's kind of built for Zoho. So it's got some
Mhm.
terrific integrations there. Um, I would say we use it all the time, Tyler.
Saves a lot
Zoho.
of saves a lot of steps, and it used to have a stability issue, but we're not really seeing that pop up much, if at all, nowadays. And just for a lot of people, it kind of enables our clients to do something that's a little more complicated than normal without having to have us do each and every step. Big one as well, Zoho Forms. This is one that we don't talk about on the show a lot because it doesn't get that many updates, probably because it doesn't really
No.
need that many updates. It really just is a great form builder. You track your UTMs, it works great with your Google Ads. If you use Flow, you can route it and have it do whatever you want inside of Zoho. Great
Yep.
application.
Yep.
Data
Kind
prep
of a
as
new one that
well.
came out. Data prep. Yep. Great app.
Yeah, and
Great app.
Don,
Basically clean
our
up your data.
director of finance, has become a pretty big data prep nerd. It's been saving him a ton of time when he's doing some of these finance migrations, because lots of data cleanup. Let's make everything proper. Let's get our phone numbers formatted. Let's split the big address line into street, city, state, column, right? Those kind of classic things that he's been kind of raving about it lately. So we wanted to get it on here.
Well, yeah, and it's a whole, when you're doing those migrations, it's more cleanup, I think, than sometimes in a CRM migration because you're also, most of the time when people are migrating, say from QuickBooks to Zoho Books, they've been on QuickBooks for 10 years. And this is their opportunity to clean up the ever so messy chart of accounts that they may have at that
Mhm.
period of time, which means if you're going to do that, then you got to change all of the previous transactions you're migrating over and line them
Yep.
all up with the new charts. There's just so much that goes in. And
Dead,
data
dead on the
prep's a
money.
tool. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Cool, cool, cool stuff. Anyway, and Sales IQ, I don't know how we could say this is an overlooked app because we talk about it all the time, but it is a great, great, great application with chat and chatbots and all the AI that's going into that and everything it does. And I will say this one gets a little overlooked. People ask us about it all the time. They say, I notice when people sign up with us and they become a client, we're using 1Password, and the only reason we're using 1Password is because you have to be logged into your CRM account for Zoho Vault to work. Then if we're logging into someone else's account, we have to log out of our account to log into their account. And then Zoho Vault won't work. So we kind of have to do a copy and paste kind of thing. And it gets rather messy. But I use this personally for all my personal stuff. A
That's
lot of
great.
updates and changes have been made to Zoho Vault.
Ever since they did that big
Absolutely.
UI
I mean,
refresh, which I think was at like late 2021, early 2022, I don't remember, but it used to look just terrible. But ever since they redid that and redid the Chrome plugin for it, I
yeah.
mean, like if you're on Zoho One, there's probably no reason to be paying for a different password manager.
No, you don't
There's
need
very there's
LastPass. You
very
don't need
few
one
things that
password.
this isn't going to do for
Yeah.
you that One Pass or LastPass is.
And they've added in all of the cool little features that though it had, like, oh, something happened on the dark web and we found your email and it was compromised. They're letting you know that now, right? I
Yeah.
mean, all that kind of stuff that the big boys, quote unquote, do, as a whole vault's doing. So great little article. And as always, Zenatta.com, all of the content, all of our blogs are here. All of the back CRM Zen shows are here as well. And that includes, if you subscribe to our newsletter, you get kind of a list of all the links to the stories we discuss. Well, let's say you just started subscribing. You can go back and look at any of these old shows. All of the links are here. So you can kind of go back and see what we were talking about that particular time as well. And I think the highlight of everything we do has got to be our resource library. And this is where we basically talk about all of the Zoho applications and we rank them in their yes, maybe, no's. And these are constantly moving around. We also track, oftentimes people want to know what's going on in a Zoho bundle. And you can go over to the Zoho page and look at Zoho One, and it'll take you like 20 minutes to figure out exactly what apps are inside the bundle. So we got to
Mm.
try to clean all that up for you and put it all in one spot here. So head over to Zenatta.com, take advantage of our resources there. And with that, Tyler, we are bringing it back. It's been a little while, but here comes a pick of the week. So I think we did 230 something of these in a row, and then we decided we ran out of really cool applications. So the new rule
Yeah.
is when we come across a really cool application, we're going to talk about it.
The tipping point, I
And
think
this
the
was
tipping point was Thanksgiving when we did the diet app, and we were just like, "All right, we got we got to put a pause on this." So now, when we do have a pick of the week, you will know that it is something legitimately cool that we're pretty excited about. So this one, I know you're a big fan of, Brett.
yeah, yeah. So Josh pointed this out to us. So this is basically called App My Site. and it will turn your website into an Android and iOS app. Uh, it's not just taking it and kind of wrapping it. There's actually a lot of tools around here, and you go through and you convert your site and you go through it all. It works with, if you go onto the pricing page here, it's, just a standard HTML website, a WordPress, WooCommerce, Shopify's coming soon, but you've got some really, really cool things you can do here. The pricing, I will say, like if I'm going to click on WordPress here, if you're watching us on YouTube, um, you'd almost really, if you're going to do this, you want their premium version, which is $99 a month. So that's going to cost you $1,200 a year if you pay monthly. If you pay yearly, they're basically dropping it down to $79 a month. So you're at $960 a year if you're going to, if you're going to pay yearly there, basically. But their real thing is their lifetime plan. I mean, you get the premium plan for $2,000, you're done. And if you think about what it costs to develop an app and get it out there and done, that is just dirt
It's
cheap.
huge.
So
It's so much
huge.
money to do it. And it's complicated. We've played with it in the past, but even getting through like the approval steps to get your app on the marketplace as a whole is like that's its whole own process outside of building the application.
Yeah. And they bundle it all up here so that you basically can just upload it, get approved. It's really truly just a few clicks with Android. Um, as long as you've got, they build out your APK, they build out your AAB, it's basically up and away you go. iOS is a little more complicated, but not with these guys because it builds it. It's completely within the store guidelines for Apple, which is a big deal, generates
Yep.
all the certificates, does all that. So, really cool application. Kudos to Josh for finding this one. I like it. So that is,
I'd be
App
fascinated to
My
see what
Site.
this thing would do with our site, with some of our crazy stuff, like the events page. Like, how's it going to handle some of those plugins? I'd just be fascinated. Like, what is our resource library going to look like if we run it through this thing?
It'd
Because
be cool. I'd
our
love to
site
take
would
a
put
look.
this thing to the test because we do just about everything but ecom on our site. So I'd be
Yeah.
fascinated to see what comes out the other end, right?
Yeah, because there's a lot going on. I mean, we have,
Yeah,
what, thousands of pages a day. It's a lot going on there. It
our
is.
website is
And hey,
massive.
since we did it's big. Well, since we did this pick of the week, I'm going to talk a little bit about a previous pick of the week, and that is ZPortals. And we love this application, Tyler. And John Mark has put together a little 30-second overview on ZPortals, and we wanted to share that with you because this is an app that we absolutely love.
It's time to give customers an easy way to do business with you using ZPortals, the customer portal builder for Zoho. It's the bridge that connects information stored in Zoho directly to your customers through an easy-to-navigate portal. From filling out forms to accepting quotes, uploading docs, and managing support tickets, ZPortals is the one-stop shop for customers to self-service, saving everyone time and frustration. So do your team and clients a favor. Install ZPortals today.
Boom. There it is. Nice little ad, John Mark. Anyway, if you are unfamiliar, ZPortal is a really cool application. It basically connects in just a ton of Zoho applications, pulls them all into one WordPress site. You can have your customers interact, update data, pay invoices. It's a great little all-in-one portal, and we love that tool.
Yeah.
So
We found that
check it
really
out.
for the majority of our, client portal implementation, ZPortals has you covered. We do those creator portals as well, but it's few and far between. A lot of the times it's just, what is it, 49, 59 bucks a month. And it's just going to
Cheap.
cover every app basically, but projects with that one on the way. So generally speaking, anytime we start talking portal, that's option number one, right? It's generally a good place to start.
Yep. All right. And with that, let's get right on into our tip of the week. And Tyler, I think this freeze frame just captures it all. So Greg is back after his mega hit, getting started with Deluge. Was it grabbing data? Was that the first one?
Reading data.
Reading data. He's now moving on to editing data, and this video is just as unplugged as the last, entertaining and educational at the same time.
And for
So,
those who might not
Greg,
know, Greg is actually editing these himself. This is a Greg from 0% to 100% production here. So definitely take a look at this one. It is just infused with all the Greg you could ever hope for.
Yes, and he's really capturing the mad scientist look with the phone cord going up the wall, the hair, the entire thing. Anyway, extremely entertaining video and informative as well. So,
Yeah.
and he will be coming out with part 3 of this soon, Tyler. So,
Yeah, and I would I
kind of
would
you're
bet
getting
you that that one will be updating a record or creating a record, something in that
I
vein.
think I think that's what it is. Yes, 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 yes. And if you don't know, if you go over to youtube.com/Zenatta, that is where we have all of our videos. So, this week alone, we've got we did a little implementation of the week, the CRM Zen Show. Josh dropped last week how to style your Zoho creator pages using HTML and CSS. We've got the day. It just goes on and on. You want videos, ask for the videos. You can do that over at Club Zen. And if we think it fits in, we will do that. But everything is here, including our January webinar, which is our Zoho One full product overview 2023. Don't watch 2022. Don't watch 2021. Don't watch 2020. Number one, Tyler and I are much younger, but the video production is much worse.
It's pretty terrible back in the day.
Pretty terrible. And you have some hair going back then. I don't know. There was a
Oh
whole
yeah,
Kramer
it was
thing and
out
a
of
couple of those.
control back then.
So anyway, head over to youtube.com/Zenatta. Subscribe to our channel, ring that bell so you never ever miss another video, and we will thank you. And with that, Tyler, it's time to move into some Q&A. And we've got 14 questions this week or something like that. So it's a lot. So let's start off with Steve Sandor. After watching a Zoho Forms full product overview 2022, he says, thanks for the info. I'm trying to integrate a form with a custom module. It works okay for bringing the information to the entries, but it doesn't populate the fields in the custom module. I do get a message that custom modules don't integrate, but that doesn't make any sense. Thoughts? Well, what did we find out, Tyler?
Tricky one. I mean, I'd have to see exactly what you're doing. I mean, Zoho Forms can definitely tie into custom modules via the pre-baked integration. So I would almost say maybe Steven follow up on Club Zen with this one with a couple screenshots and we could take a look there. But it should be able to tie directly into a custom module and load all the data into those fields. It does get like a little trickier if you're doing like create a lead and a related record, because I know you can do that through the pre-baked form integration. So there might be a couple odds and ends, but it's likely just one or two little quick things that need to be tweaked there.
All righty. And then Kevin Wooten, after watching Zoho Connect full product tutorial. So this video and all the Connect videos are pretty old. Can you do an updated video and touch more on the extranet capabilities of the platform? I currently would love to use it for a customer and subcontractor communication, but it seems to be a little much to expect them to want to go through with it. Any help would be appreciated. Kevin, we probably won't do another video on it this year. We've got a lot to do. Not much has changed in Zoho Connect since we did the 2020 tutorial. Not much has changed at all. Talking about, from an extranet, if they have a Zoho account, it tends to work fairly well. And we love Connect, by the way. I just want to say, great application. Great for an internet. Can be great for an extranet as long as the people that you're extranetting with are actually Zoho users. They don't have to be, Tyler, but we run into issues, right?
Yeah, when you spin up, and we haven't done an extranet implementation many times, Kevin. It's why we don't have a lot of videos on it. Like a lot of the stuff we record, like look behind the curtain, is kind of just based on the things that our customers bring to us, right? So, a lot of it is CRM campaigns, desk projects. Within Connect, I mean, we've not done a ton of fully external implementations where like people are going to go in that aren't Zoho users. We have had some issues with onboarding, kind of similar things that you're mentioning, where for one of those people, if really all they need to go in and see is like a calendar and an occasional update, that like the onboarding process is a bit confusing and it can be kind of a lot to look at when you get in there. So unfortunately, I don't know if it's in the cards right now for us to expand on it much, just because honestly, there's a lot that we just haven't touched when it gets into like the fully external no Zoho users type of implementation.
Yeah. But if you're really just looking for customer and subcontractor communication, I would use Click.
Mm,
Because they can set up a free little Click account in Zoho, and you can have 3 or 4 channels. You can have as many channels as you want for your customers and your subcontractors. You could have, general chit chat. You could kind of go through all those things. So I would say that you might want to look at Click, and maybe that'll get done for you a little easier. And people are familiar with that type of an application. All right, skill training education. After watching how to migrate from QuickBooks to Zoho Books, says Zoho has a given tool to partners, and using that tool to migrate from QuickBooks to Zoho Books is recommended. Is there a video for that? It involves creating an app, an Intuit account, creating an app, generating a client, security idea. Don't even do it. What's your recommend? I mean, that's the recommendation is you
yeah,
really
I
should.
mean, our general recommendation on that, it's kind of two things there. So like one, like Brett mentioned earlier, a lot of the times when people are migrating from QuickBooks to Zoho Books, there's a lot of cleanup to do. The formats don't always match perfectly. The way that you're doing things there might not match the way you're doing things here. Um, we haven't used that pre-baked tool in a long time to do a migration. The last time that we used it, it was kind of fraught with peril. And even though doing it manually, where you're kind of pulling a backup, reformatting, and then sequentially doing your imports to books is definitely a lot more work. It gives you much more control over where everything's going to end up. Um,
Yeah.
I think we've kind of got a plan this year to create a lot more content around this migration. So hopefully that'll kind of help you do it with the way that we end up doing them. But as of right now, and again, unless John jumps into chat and says, no, you're crazy, that thing works well, I know that he really greatly prefers to pull it out, load it in data prep, clean everything up, reformat some things, and then run his imports with really good looking data rather than kind of trusting the pre-baked flow that Zoho and QuickBooks have sorted out for this migration.
All right, moving on. And Vignesh, after watching Begin, full product overview 2022, can I integrate Begin with Power BI? Please help me out, Zenatta.
Yeah, not natively. I mean, they've both got APIs, so you definitely could build like a little scheduler tool or something that runs in Deluge to pull some data out, put some data in on the Power BI side. But there is not a pre-baked integration, unfortunately, between the two. At least not that I could find. There might be some via like connectors like Skyvia or where you got to kind of pay in the middle, but I didn't see any pre-designed integrations.
And I would just use analytics, and you don't have to
Yeah,
worry
use
about
Zoho
any of that.
Analytics. There you go. There's the plug.
You're done. All right. Theodoros, after watching how to link Zoho creator forms to Zoho CRM, says, thanks a lot for your video, but what about custom modules which are not supported in the CRM integration button in Creator? Is there any workaround? I have to tell you, Theodoros, we looked at this and we said, what? And you're correct.
I thought you were
It's
crazy
not.
when I first read the question. I was like, no, you can connect it to custom modules. So I pulled up our creator app, went to try to add a field, and lo and behold, no, you cannot connect them to custom modules. I did ping it off of Josh, essentially get his take, right, when you need this to work. And unfortunately, the current solution right now is to create a module for that in Creator and sync them, which, right out of the gate does cause challenges, right? Whenever you're going to sync two lists in two places, it's never easy. But as of right now, unfortunately, that is the only solution.
Could you
Zoho, if you're
also
listening,
could you
please.
could you also in the bottom of a non-custom module create a section with all the fields and then just write them over? Like ignore it, have it checked so those fields never show in the record, but you're copying them all over to a non-custom. You could do that, right?
Yeah, it just depends
Would
where
that
you need
work?
it to go and how you need to report on it. Gets
Yeah.
a little nitty gritty, but yeah, unfortunately, like if you want to be able to fill that lookup field, like I'm picking this deal and this hour log against it, you'll have to sync them.
All righty. And Jordan asks, after watching the implementation of the week selective lead activation for account-based prospecting, with this approach, if you were to qualify one of the leads, would you convert them all? And Tyler,
Yeah,
you were like,
really good
you
question,
go,
Jordan.
wow, what a great
Yeah,
question.
it's a great question. I like this one. So it's a choice at the end of the day, and it depends. At some point, you should have a like point in your sales process where you reach back into leads and convert any other leads from that account, right? And so For a lot of people, I would say that's probably when you qualify that first lead. And that could look as simple as a function where, like, when a lead is converted, you run a script that looks for other leads with that same email domain or that same company or account lookup, depending on how you have it set up, and then auto convert them. But yes, I would recommend having a point in your flow. And it could be when you convert them. Maybe it's when they get to the second deal stage, maybe it's so on and so forth. But when you're doing account-based prospecting, the general best practice is that, like, because that account has now been qualified by virtue of qualifying one person at it, that you would want all those other leads to become like auxiliary contacts on that one account. But really good question. Really, really good question. I like this one.
All righty. And then Patrick, after watching Zoho Forms Full Product Overview 2022, says, "Hi team, great video. Thanks for sharing. I had a question. I'm looking to create a form for our existing leads to fill out. Once the form is complete, to it then be stored to either a Google Drive or within Zoho CRM lead profile. Do you know if this is possible?" Yes, it is. Couple ways of doing it, right, Todd? I mean, you could write it to that as a PDF. You could write it as individual data fields. It seems like there are
Yeah,
a lot
and
of
we
different ways you
generally
can do
always
it.
recommend writing to fields rather than the attachment. You can do both. The only trick with doing the attachment is that you'll need to use the default integration. You won't be able to use like Flow if you want to be a little clever and kind of search contacts, then search leads and so on. But definitely possible. There's some tricks, right? You might want to make sure that you have field aliases set up. We've got a different video on that on YouTube. Look at that little plug. That goes through how to set those up so that you could maybe like pre-fill their email address or phone number and use that to tie it back to your original lead. So a couple little best practices that go into this, but you can surely accomplish this flow.
All righty. And then Jay asks, after watching Zoho CRM dashboards and homepage customization, uh, great video. How can I change the crisscross default background to be plain like ours? I don't think it actually is plain like ours.
Maybe
I
it was in a
think
demo
just
account.
look
It's
that
got to be I
running.
recorded it in a demo account or something. But unfortunately, Jay, we can't turn off the little triangles there up at the top.
And I think those are new anyway. It could have been like the videos before they put that little background in there. It is kind of a weird little back. I never noticed it. It's never bothered me, but I can see how it someone might want to customize that and get rid of it. But sorry, Jay, nothing we can do there. And then Lisa, after watching Zoho Analytics full product tutorial, asks, "How do I have Zoho? I have Zoho CRM Plus. Do I have to have Zoho CRM Plus to have analytics, or can I add it as a plugin?" It's a separate application, Leah. You can just go to analytics.zoho.com or zoho.com/analytics and buy it. And it'll link to your account. As long as you use the same email that you're using for your Zoho CRM account, um, you're good to go. Or if you just want analytics by itself, you can buy it that way.
Yep. I think generally, if you're looking at more apps, it's a good opportunity to think, does Zoho One make sense right now? But yeah, if not, then just bolt it on as, another application under your email.
And I also want to say on that note, because I've been having a lot of people ask me about this lately. So if you call Zoho and you say, "Hey, these are the applications I need," and they fit into that CRM Plus bundle, they're going to say, "Oh, you need CRM Plus." But the question you need to ask yourself is, am I buying licenses for all of my employees? And if you are, then you need Zoho One. And so
There's no
you
reason
really
not
want
to.
to no, yeah, exactly. You just, the different, you get the ultimate edition of CRM over in CRM Plus, but it's rare that you'll need that. And so it's
And even
really
it's
one of
like
those
the
things.
breakdown. It's even if you were going to put half of your employees on CRM Plus, you should probably be considering just Zoho One, right? Because it's about twice as expensive.
I think it's like, I'd say if you 65% of your employees, that's kind of where the
Yeah.
break point's going to be. But you really want to look at that. I've been getting that just quite often lately. People are like not even aware it exists. So the bundles can be confusing. Again, if you head over to Zenatta.com and we have all the apps, you can click at the apps, see their individual pricing, see which bundles they're in. They're all broken down there, so you can kind of figure out what's going to be best for you. I recommend looking at that before you make your purchase, because if you're doing all employee pricing, man, their only answer is Zoho One at that point in time.
Yeah, I
Because
mean, it's
if
the
you are
same
putting
price as just a CRM license, basically. So
right,
it
right, that's
becomes kind of a
crazy.
no-brainer.
Absolutely. All right, Speak Eagle with Dr. P. Ha! I did that earlier. I had to do it
I was
again.
wondering if you were going to do that. You did it in the pre-show, and I was hoping that you'd do it here as well.
Caw, caw. I don't know. Is that an eagle, a hawk, or just a crow? I don't know. Anyway, she watched Zoho CRM, How to Set Up Your Email 2020. Not all of my emails I have sent and received from customers are showing up in the CRM. I'll shortcut this whole thing. You just got to check your IMAP connection. So if you're sending emails from your domain, that's your standard one, you just need to verify that your IMAP connection is in place. The other thing that happens oftentimes, if you're sending them out of the CRM, well, you get an error. Maybe your authentication errored out, so you might want to go look at that. But you should be fine. Okay, so I would say just check your IMAP connection because there's literally no reason for that to
That it
happen.
shouldn't come
Okay.
through. Yeah.
Yep. Literally no reason. All right. And then Anene, after watching the beginner's guide for Zoho CRM Workflows 2020, says, how do you test if your workflow works?
It's a good question. So there's two ways. You could either do it in the sandbox if you want to be really, really careful. A lot of the times what we'll do is when I build a workflow, let's say I'm going to run a workflow on leads, for example, I'll put an arbitrary criteria in the workflow. So like, let's say that you want to send 3 emails when the lead status goes to cold. So I'll set up a workflow where the criteria filter would be lead status is cold and last name is Zenatta example, right? Something that I know is just nobody's last name, nobody's, phone number, nobody's email. Apply that as a filter and then just create a record that matches that information and run your test against that record. Because then you do get to see it live in the system, but you're still not kind of opening up the floodgates without running your test first.
All righty. Is that it? No. Uh, Alexandra, after watching Getting Started with Deluge, Editing Data, Greg's amazing little video he did. Hi, your video is amazing. I don't know if you can help me urgently. I need to change the data values of the owner who made the request of a purchase request. They were generated automatically through the workflow, but they are being generated with my account data, my owner ID, as I did it. But I need it to be from the account of the one who generates it. Is there something dynamic as it can be used by several people? He's going to need some Deluge code for that, Tyler?
Yeah, it's definitely solvable. You'd have to know like where the submission's happening. Like am I submitting it for a particular customer account and therefore the owner of the customer account should own it? Is it more of like a form submission that they're putting in where you need to carry through the submitter? Right? So there's like a handful of different ways that this can be solved just depending on exactly what your workflow is, but it's definitely a very solvable problem to have.
Alrighty, and then Varun asked, hello all, I just started using Zoho Analytics. I want to work on some practical projects to increase my practical experience and understanding. Can anybody please suggest some source where I can get some sample projects to work on? Thanks in advance. Any ideas, Tyler?
I don't have anything on deck. I mean, I'm sure you could find places online to get like sample CRM data, right? To kind of dump in and start playing with. But in terms of like the reporting targets and what you're going to create, I don't think I have anything really off the top of my head. It really gets into kind of getting creative and just getting your hands dirty in analytics with some real data in there.
I mean, is it good? Maybe, if you had CRM, you dump some sample data in it, you connect it. They give you just a ton of base reports from that, right? And then maybe start playing around with those and making some
Yeah.
changes.
The nice thing, Varun, about analytics is that, even if you connected analytics to your real kind of live data, you're not going to break anything by goofing around, right? Like you're not affecting your data, you're not editing anything. You're really just creating these different visualizations. So if you have a day, you go in there, you make 5 of them, you look at them and you're like, wow, 4 of these are totally, worthless. I like the one that I made though. Well, now keep that one, do it again tomorrow, kind of just keep trying and practicing. But yeah, we don't have anything kind of on deck in terms of practice or materials there.
Alrighty, and then Beat Z, Ask, thank you for your valued inputs in the Zen Show and answering questions. Brett and Tyler recommend mainly Click. I understood Click. We need to create a channel for each employee where only the employee and the team leader are members so they can share files, inputs, one-on-one meetings, etc. Would you use Connect for communication, files, inputs, one-on-one meetings? Does Connect offer an advantage? No. So you really want to use Click, but the default on it, Beat Z, is everybody who is in Click is going to have their own little channel, and that channel makes a one-to-one connection with everybody else who's in Click. So basically, if I wanted to just private message Tyler, I just click on him and I private message. But he has 25 other conversations with other Zoho one-on-one employees going on there as well. The other advantage, though, is you can create nifty little groups. You can have your marketing group, your development group, your sales group, your consulting group, all those different groups, and you can limit who has visibility in there. You can have an accounting group, and maybe it's a senior management group. So it's the nice part is it's very easy. They, a year and a half ago, they allowed you to rearrange things and put them in folders. Really makes your Click conversations super easy to access and know what you're looking for. I think Click is the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
All righty. And Steve Sandor asked, I was hoping for some guidance from the iBrains Trust. I'm offering a free service. Okay. So basically, Steve, I'm going to parse this out because we read it a little bit. He is offering a service where there will be a maximum of 3 participants per month for 6 months with 18 participants. And it's first in, first serve, and the service will be delivered in 4 sessions over 1 month. He's created a form, but he's not sure if this is the best option. I'm a bit stuck on the best way to manage the calendar and the limited slots. Is Zoho subscription the best, or Zoho Forms or a custom module? There's a lot of ways to go with. What's that, Tyler?
Yeah, not subscriptions. Yeah, we're kind of
No.
thinking through this. There's a lot of different ways to go with it. I mean, like Backstage would allow you to create sessions with limits and have people sign up, but it feels like overkill, especially for kind of
Right.
like V1 of this as you're kind of getting started. Brett, you were almost thinking maybe a bookings implementation because there you can create time blocks where 3 people can book or 4 people can book. And,
Yeah.
you might be able to kind of get it done there and then tie that back to
The one I could
CRM.
Yeah, I would try bookings first because it's probably in your Zoho one, and I think it might work. If not, what I do know would work is Acuity, because Acuity allows you to do very similar to bookings, but we've actually got this implementation going. So, hey, I've got 3 slots at this time, and you can fill those in, and that's it. And you could kind of set it up that way. Um, but I would try bookings first, I think, Tyler.
Yeah,
You know, and I think you could even can't you even charge people in bookings now? I think you can.
you can. Yep.
Good. Pretty
Doesn't go to
sure.
Zoho
Yeah.
Books, but
So you could
you can
do
charge.
everything out of yeah. Stripe though, and it'll get there eventually. So you can do that on the back end. All right, Dave Davis ask any advice or ideas on best practices for phone systems and CRM. We currently use Ring Central, which we really like for our calls, plus Smooth Messenger for text messages. The problem I'm trying to figure out is how to have the same number for both of those services. Is there a good solution for using the same number for both talk and text? I love Smooth Messenger plugin, and I don't want to give that up necessarily. Thoughts? You don't have to, Dave. Tyler, when did we learn this? 3-4 months ago? The whole
It
split
was
port
actually
thing?
it was
Um,
after we did an
so Dave,
interview with Jared Nagel at Smooth Messenger, and I think we dug in after.
afterwards. Okay, so here's what we found out. You can go to Ring Central and say, I want to port the SMS portion of my number to message media, and which is Smooth Messenger. And then you will have the phone number with Ring Central. You will have the text with Smooth Messenger, and you are accomplishing exactly what you are after there. So, and I think there are only a few countries you can do that in, and the US is one of them. So,
Yep.
but you actually can split a number so that voice is here and SMS is here. So that will do what you need to do. I'd reach out to Message Media first, say, here's what I want to do. They can give you the advice on it. Then you reach out to Ring Central, give them the exact what you want to do there, and you should be good to go. All right.
Awesome.
Wow. That's a wrap. All right, buddy. Another show is in the bag. 59 minutes, going to come in at an hour. If you want to get in touch with Tyler or myself, you can head over to Zenatta.com and click on book a meeting, and we will be happy to talk with you. And if you want to participate in our online community, please head over to club.zenatta.com.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes of the show, as well as links to all the stories we discussed today. We'd love if you would follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us here on YouTube, as well as your choice of podcast app. We'll see you next Friday.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Taking us out with that smooth jazz, Freddie. It never gets old.